Kem cho Ahmedabad? That's all Gujarati that I know. So this is the second time I'm traveling here in Ahmedabad. The first time I was here was in 2022. When I saw Ahmedabad for the very first time, I was amazed by the incredible infrastructure and the kind of enthusiasm that I saw in a lot of people who happens to be my friend back in Pune when I was working for Capgemini. Most of us started our journey somewhere 2015 to 2016 when all of us saw pictures. We all wanted to be the entrepreneur. We all wanted to be somebody who is going to change something for India, something for city. I'm amazed by the infrastructure and the capacity and the potential of what this incredible city holds. And I am a proper Indori. So before we talk about GenAI, I'll introduce myself. I'm coming from Indore. I'm not from Bangalore. I was talking to Harsh and he was asking, you're traveling from Canada? And I said, yes, but I am a proper Indori. Born, raised and educated in Indore only. Whatever I am today was built from Indore. From the streets of Indore, from the struggle and the dream of Indore, if we think about Ahmedabad 2 decades ago, it was a different city. The way it has evolved last 2 decades, specifically in tech, is amazing. Those friends of mine who started their organizations or the startup 15 years back or 10 years back are actually running big tech companies. So the city has seen a big evolution, not only in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of tech as well. Indore has witnessed the similar journey. A lot of us was trying to get something of our own. So let me tell you how it all started. It was my first day at Capgemini back in 2010. I was nervous as all of us could be, trying to settle in, staring the big desk, the big hall where all the developers were there. I found my desk finally. Right above my desk, there was a fire exit sign. Right. Now, most of us wouldn't even notice it, but something about it hit me really hard. Like a quiet nudge from universe. It felt symbolic. And that's the moment I realized this is not the place for me. This is not where I belong. I went back to Indore without any roadmap, without any plan. Just wanted to build something. And that something has turned into Innogen Technologies, which is my venture that I then built for next 10 years. It was really hard. Building it brick by brick, with the shared determination of doing something. We were not sure about where this venture would lead. We started consulting services. Later, 2017, I stumbled onto a great problem, the problem of FP&A, financial planning and analysis. Initially, it looks like just another problem, just another project for me. Then I made few trips to San Francisco and I met few industry leaders. They were doing some great things, specifically to planning, to the planning domain, which most of us, specifically India, was not really sure about how to handle. Way back in 2017, and that's where I realized this is the problem that I'm going to solve. We all went in, we raised $5 million, and we were able to set teams across the globe. We were managing a team of 110 people from India. Most of the engineering operations were run by us being in Indore. We had our team in Ukraine, Russia, Canada, USA, Eastern Europe. We were managing it. Then we crossed our paths with Vena Solution. Vena was big. It is most respected organization, very respected when it comes to planning. When I met the senior leadership of Vena, one thing was clear. They were really excited in what we were building. They were Excel based, we were Google based. But we were struggling, so they were. We found a middle ground, and that's how we started a complete new venture called Vena India. I started leading Vena India somewhere 2024 February. But when we started our journey, we were not sure how to lead it, and there came the next paradigm shift, which is GenAI. Before we talk about it, let me tell you the incredible organization that I represent, Vena Solution. When I is a leading SaaS company in FP&A, as I said, with over $120 million of annual revenue, serving beyond 2,000 customers and valued over $1 billion. Thousands of customers, most respected in FP&A. But how do we respond to the change? That's the elephant in the room. So, when we started, all of us, specifically people who are having more than 8 to 9 years of experience, we were already there somewhere 2010 within fourth paradigm shift. When I say fourth paradigm shift, with every shift, right from the personal computing to internet to mobile to cloud computing, it has changed the way humans used to live. They used to think, the way we approach the problem, how we would be living our life, our day-to-day life, was decided by this tech evolution. But most of these were very much limited to the boundaries of tech and then changing the society in a very different way. This one, the generative AI, is beyond the tech industry. It would be touching almost everything, beyond industries, beyond tech, because the way it is evolved, there are 3 different eras. We haven't landed on the generative AI overnight. Why it is going to touch every aspect of our life is because how it is evolved. If you see the very first era, which was symbolic era, we were mostly utilizing machines to do the algorithmic task for us, do the math for us, or create the financial report for us, do accounting for us. We were trying to teach machine what our structured problem were. And we were getting some exciting result, because imagine a CA somewhere in 1950s trying to do your accounting. It was very hectic without calculator. So we started utilizing machine, the algorithm, in a very different way. And there comes this statistical era, which is early 90s and 2020. This is the era where we actually laid down the foundation of generative AI. This is the era where we got some cool stuff, right from self-driving cars to recommendation on Spotify, recommendation of Netflix. We got Alexa also. So there were a lot of cool stuff happening around here, because we started giving machine a data, lot of data, tons of it, and we were hoping that it will come out with the pattern, and yes, it did. It started suggesting us what needs to be done, what needs to be identified, what needs to be predict. But it can predict, it can categorize, it can classify, it cannot generate. But that's where the foundation of generative AI laid down. So the very first thing that we learn about generative AI is it can generate. And it can generate a lot of cool stuff. We all know about it. So if you see what generative AI at its core, it can generate code, it can generate content. We all know the term called vibe coder. You don't have to be a tech expert to code or to come up with something. Generative AI can help you out in a very different way. Like if you ask AI to write a poem for space, the way Shakespeare would used to write, it would come up with something very new which never existed. This shift is changing us in a very different way. It is changing our day-to-day job from a task doer to a co-creator. So it's not about completing your task, it's about co-creating with machines. It's about curating it. It's about letting machine know that I'm your buddy. This is something very different that would change the world. We got tools for almost everything. We have tool for content writing, we have tool for code generation, for videos, for images. I could name Claude, Lovable, ChatGPT, Gemini. There are a number of tools which are coming. So what is coming next? How many of you know this? Okay. So agree with me or not, we all want our Jarvis secretly, right? This is where we are leading. This is where this all is taking us. When I'm waking up in the morning to ride my bullet, sometimes I think, what if it would start asking, hey Gautam, did you sleep well? What if I could talk to my bike and create my gadgets around it when I'm driving it? But that's where this evolution is taking us as a whole. There's another example of it. How many of you know this protagonist? Oh, very few. Okay. So recently I was reading an article in Times of India, and Sam Altman was suggesting not to depend on AI emotionally. So this protagonist from movie Her, which all of you must watch, got emotionally dependent on AI, and that is where world is moving. Most of the teenagers in North America, they are making their dependency on the AI. What should I wear? Where should I go? Who should I pick up for date? And that's where Sam Altman says, be very careful, but understand, is there an opportunity for all of us? Can we come up with some sort of a product which would detach you being dependent on GenAI? So if you replace the word from challenge to opportunity, if you see everything, because there remains a nagging question about where I am going after this or what is left for me. So everything that you see as a problem has opportunity in it. If somebody is coming up with an idea of how I can get the best use of my AI tool and not getting emotionally dependent on it, something to think about. So with all these tools, with everything that is coming on, what comes next for me? Because we have ChatGPT, Harsh was talking about Google Gemini, Claude, Lovable, all of it. Is it about just utilizing the tools available in the market? There remains a lot of question. What is left for me? Where does my business go from here? By the time I build something, they will already launch it. There is a tool for almost everything. So where I go from here? Are we just supposed to use the tools they give us and hope for the best, just like we got mobile phones? Is it what is going to help us, or is it where we are going to land, right? They started talking about the micro productivity. I was in Valley 2 weeks before, and they started talking about humans would only have to work 3 hours after 2 years. We would land in an era where you have to work only 3 hours. Rest of it would be done by machine. So where I go from here? What I learned in the college was conventional technology. That too I learned on myself, right? We are not dependent on the syllabus that we got from the college, right? We are learning ourselves. So where I go from here? Something to think about. And here is what we all have to think. The tsunami of GenAI. Because, as I said, if we replace the word from challenge to opportunity, we would see this world very differently. Because the data-driven look at how GenAI is creating, not destroying the economy, but transforming it. By 2030, it is going to change the world and India dramatically. From $17 billion to $900 billion, that's not a linear growth in 7 years. That's big. And over 170 million new jobs. New creation of 78 million jobs globally. That is where GenAI is taking us. But we all have to think how we would respond to it. Because just understand, this is something that if you are not having mobile phone in this era, you are left out. Not knowing the use of the tool, being in the tech, or not being aware of what is going on, you would be left behind for sure. But just the awareness won't help. We have to think beyond awareness, we have to think beyond the tools and how we would be adopting this change. Because this is not limited to tech, as I said. This is going to revolutionize industries, right from healthcare to finance to education, manufacturing, customer engagement. And two of it that I could see, the very first is finance, because I'm coming from finance and the planning, and I could see the potential. And the next is education. That's where the real potential lies. 2 weeks ago, three dudes from Indore, they raised $5 million. If you have heard about it, they raised $5 million just integrating AI into their software and coming up with a unique idea of coaching. So that's where the real potential is. We all should think about where we are going from here, and it's not limited to the industries. India AI-powered search, 38 million jobs transformed by GenAI by 2030. When I say transformed, we all must think about. It is not, people would lose the job if they don't adopt to the technology. When they say transform the job, the job description of a clerk may come up with all sort of new tasks. He might be there for drafting few email or sending out few letters. That has to be transformed. And that's what I mean when I say transformed. 63 workers need skill upgrade. So we all have to go through a skill upgrade program, how to use the tech or how to respond to this new change. But the question remains the same, where I go from here, and why companies are still needs to build with GenAI. So I am part of those boardroom, and believe me, they are also thinking the same. As I said, I was in Valley, and investors, they are pulling out their checks. They are saying, you should integrate AI into your organization. Now think about it. I'm coming from the Vena executive leadership team. We built our product from 2011 to till date with 5 hub and a big infrastructure serving 2,000 customers. Now investors are saying, we will back off if you don't use AI. This is a big change for us. And it's not something that we could do over a day or over a few weeks. This is going to disrupt the entire infrastructure that we have. So we have to come up with some strong approach or an approach that would solve our problem. Just by start using the ChatGPT or Cloud or GitHub Copilot is not going to solve the problem. Because this is not a tech problem, this is a business problem. If we have to integrate AI in our own product, we have to come up with a very solid approach. So both the parties, the job seeker and organization, both of them are stumbling on the same problem. What should we do? One thing is for sure, just providing the ChatGPT license or GitHub Copilot or Lovable license is not going to solve the problem. Not for organization and not for you people, right? There are 5 reasons. The very first is no access to private data. Professionals sitting in the room, they know if you guys are creating a prompt to generate the code. That's the only thing your model or your licensed version of ChatGPT knows about. It doesn't understand the entire ecosystem of your organization, how your sales is functioning, how much customer you got churned, what was the latest issue we faced from the client, what was the last email, how to generate the test cases that it could not fail, because your GPT or your model don't understand the entire ecosystem or entire infrastructure of your organization, of your product. No. In Vena, we have 150 developers who are working on the product. Just imagine the kind of work we are getting achieved in one day. A lot. Everyone is utilizing its own license. We have to come up with a unique approach, and that too, there are concerns about the privacy. There are concerns about how we are generating the code. The second is outdated or incomplete knowledge. Every model is trained up to a certain point in the past. If you are asking your AI tool for something and it is not having the latest information, it is going to go and search the web and try to get you the most authentic source to come up with the solution. But it is the most authentic source. It's not the authentic source. And that's where it may start hallucinating with lack of accountability because your sources are not reliable. And the fourth is no built-in trust or accountability because the first 3 issues. And the fifth one, which is the most important, we all know the story of WhatsApp, right? There are 20 people in a room building something really cool, and they sold it to Zuckerberg in $19 billion. What if they were utilizing Claude to generate the code? We all had signed the IP agreement. Those professionals who are working in the organization, they know we all have to sign that agreement that whatever we are creating belongs to the company. But if you are utilizing some sort of tool to generate the code, whose IP it would be, whose intellectual property it would be, to whom it would belong? That's a big question that every organization needs to answer. And these are the 5 reasons where companies are thinking about how to respond to the change, and why they still need to build with GenAI, and why there are opportunities for all of us. One opportunity, if we know, we have to come up with a secured network within our office, a dedicated mailbox, a dedicated ecosystem for AI tools is what the opportunity would be. If we can come up with a lot of securities, that's where the opportunity would be. And there are 2 ways companies are responding to it: internal adoption and embedding AI into their product and services. I think we had enough discussion when it comes to internal adoption, but I'll tell you how we responded to it. So the very first step that we took as an organization is to come up with some sort of method so that we can at least say that we are an AI-driven company. There are 7 different verticals or functions within Vena. Right from USA, UK to India, there are 7 different functions that comes together to make Vena running. So we circulated an Excel sheet asking all the department head to come up with something that they want to solve with the power of GenAI. And believe me, they came back with 280 issues that they want to get solved by GenAI, or the tools that we were proposing them. And that's a lot. Within 6 months, we created the AI pod, and we come up with a lot of different approach. We launched 33 agents in 7 different ways to kill those requirements which were coming from different departments. And believe me, we were able to achieve 35% of productivity. The productivity increase after implementing those agents and the methods was 35%. Now for a company like Vena, who is having 1500 CR of annual revenue, think about 30% is saving 450 CR per year. That's the kind of power it will unleash. So internal adoption is something that every organization has to go through, and all of us has to adopt. If you are thinking we would be conventional developer no matter what, I'm happy with my Spring Boot, I'm happy with Java, I'm happy with Python, that's not gonna work. You have to come up with something very unique, or you have to come up with an approach where human and machine would come together to create something, a better way of responding to the change. The second is embedding AI into product and services. As I said, the boardrooms are still thinking how to adopt the change. Is it gonna disrupt my revenue stream? Because you don't want to disturb your $120 million revenue stream just by embedding AI, and because your investors are pushing hard on it. That's one reason. But imagine the power of GenAI. Why investors are doing that? Because there may be few struggle with respect to the entry-level jobs. And that would force people to come up with fresh ideas. And when people would come up with fresh ideas, the tech people, fresh students from college, if they start building their own, they may challenge big companies, even companies like Vena. If somebody is coming up with a unique approach to solve the FP&A problem using the most recent LLM model, what Vena is going to do, or what most of the companies would respond to. So we have to do it one way or other, but how? We don't want to disrupt our revenue. We don't want to change the way we used to code. How do we respond to it? There's another reason why companies are not taking aggressive steps towards GenAI. There are 2 case studies that I want to discuss. The very first is IBM Watson. How many of you know IBM Watson? And how many of you know IBM Watson healthcare case study? Only one? Okay. So IBM Watson started building a technology that was supposed to help health workers to diagnose, to come up with prescriptions, to come up with lot of different facilities within the healthcare industry. They built it for like 8 years, and they end up having a big data center around healthcare. They were trying to build something else, and they landed in a space where ultimately they had to shut down their operation because they were not building the solution. They were trying to refine the tech as much as they can, and they were left with a lot of data and data patterns, that's all. So no company wants to land there. And the very next is Amazon walk-in store. All of you already know what Amazon walk-in store is, yes or no? I had first-hand experience walking into Amazon store. And there are no Amazon walk-in store as of now. They closed all of them. You know why? The very first time when I was walking in the Amazon store, it took me 5 minutes to pick a few things and walk away. Last time when I was there, it took me about 25 minutes. This is even heavier than walking out of a Walmart in San Francisco. Why? Both the companies, they are big players, right? They have a lot of luxury when it comes to dollars. They have a lot of luxury when it comes to potential, people, everything. But they landed in a space where they were not able to recover. So no company wants to land in a space from where they will not be able to recover. And that's why most of the companies are thinking about how to respond to the change. When I was in a board meeting with investor, and they said, you achieved 30% of productivity by implementing these agents. What's next? Are you thinking of laying off 30% of the people? Because that's how the math works, right? If you got 30% increase of productivity, you probably let go 30 people. If in a team of 100 people, let go 30 people, right? I don't think so. Because that's what IBM did one more time. They created an agent called Ask HR, an AI bot, and fired 700 people. After 1 year, they ended up hiring those people again because it was not sufficient to run a big company like Amazon. When we talk about the second part of it, how we are responding to the change, because it's not just about keep thinking about IBM Watson or about Amazon walking store, how do we respond, whether we should take our step forward or not. We have to utilize, or we have to integrate AI into, we have to start utilizing AI into our product one way or other. I think with respect to the limitation of time, I will, we know the power of how generative AI can create, but the real game lies within the neural network. The power of neural network, which would actually change the game for all of us. And most of the solution, specifically from the education and the finance industries, would come from the power of neural network. We as Vena start utilizing it for forecasting, which is the foundational part of our product. We provide forecasting and analysis. That's what our USP is, and we are replacing our tech with neural networks. So this is a small video of how our professional services people getting frustrated writing the algorithm for the forecasting. I'm not sure if it would play or not.
You could play from if it's YouTube, then we'll play.
Oh. So we have to create the context of the previous video, else this won't matter. So this is what the power of neural network would be. To summarize it, how would I? So if you have to create the projection for 5 years, you have to write a lot of formulas. I'm talking about a financial model which doesn't require any formula. no Excel formula for projection is where the world is moving, is where the financial planning and analysis domain is shifting. Because today, if we have to come up with 5-year projection, a team of 5 people who are really expert in the math have to come up with all the logic, all the data set, and write those formula in the Excel to come up with the forecasting. We are imagining a world without formulas. That's where the, no, I'm okay with it. We can move down to, I'll quickly talk about the data centers. So that's where the opportunity for India lies. And that's where we would get a lot of jobs getting transformed, because we are investing heavily in the infrastructure as a country as well. There are 3 takeouts. One is you're not late, you're right on time. Opportunities for everyone beyond tech. India is not just watching this revolution, it's becoming the driver for it. After the dot-com bubble, we all, mostly Indians, started leading the tech world, the Silicon Valley. And with this paradigm shift, I am sure we are not leaning backward, we are leaning forward to lead the world again. A must recommend book for all of us is Human Plus Machine. We have to find a middle ground, as I said. It is GenAI will flip the question. The question would not be just a task doer, but how do we co-create with machines? The winning companies put people and machines together in symbiotic relationship, each pushing others to achieve what neither could do on their own, validating human plus machine premise. That's where world is moving, and that's where big organizations are stepping forward. With that, I'll conclude my session, and with respect to time as well. If anyone of you want to get connected or coming up with a cool idea and need me, you can reach out to me in 2 ways. Reach out to me on email, and that's my LinkedIn QR. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.